Hi, my name's Jay from Adventure Traveler. I'm here today to talk to you about poison ivy and its effects it has on people and how to basically recognize it and treat it while you're out in the bush. There's two main reasons why I chose to talk about this topic. One being 70% of the population is actually allergic to this plant, and the other being I currently have poison ivy. I actually got it on my last camping trip out to Bruce Peninsula. So I figured it'd be a good opportunity for me to show you guys some first-hand accounts of the symptoms of poison ivy. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Poison ivy has ruined a lot of people's trips, and in some cases, if not treated properly, can become extremely severe. So hopefully you guys haven't fallen victim to the wrath of poison ivy, but if you have, it's probably because you either didn't know what the plant looked like or you were unaware of the symptoms. So let's start by taking a look at a picture of the plant, which we can see right here. Take some notes, ingrain this image into your head. This is pretty important that you stay away from this plant on your trips. Let's cut over to a video I took today of me. I actually went out and hiked around the forest to find some of this plant and show you firsthand what it looks like in the wild. So as you can see here, I've come across a small patch of poison ivy along the trail. Now poison ivy usually has 3 broad spoon-shaped leaves, but sometimes can have more. It usually grows in a climbing vine or in a low bush area. Now the leaves themselves in the fall can be determined by more of a red tinge and a white berry with them. But in the summer, midsummer, you can see it's fairly green. There's just a bit of reddening around the stem of the plant. Now at this stage they're extremely potent, which is why I'm wearing a glove just to be extra cautious. So the plant itself actually emits a oily resin-based substance called urushiol, and when your skin comes in contact with that, that's what's going to cause the inflammation and irritation with your skin. That substance itself is, it doesn't evaporate and it dries extremely quickly on whatever it comes in contact with. So, within 15 minutes, it can bond with the skin's outer layer. So that's why it's really important to be able to identify the plant before you come in contact with it. Another problem with this plant is that generally it'll take anywhere from 8 hours to 2 days for the symptoms to start showing. So at that point, you could have rubbed the oil all over yourself or touched places where you didn't really want to touch, spreading the oil. Now, when you start showing symptoms of it, it's important to treat that area, cover it up. It goes through different phases. So first you'll have like a red dot phase, or it may blotch. Then from there it'll go into more of a blistering. Then my least favorite phase, the oozing phase, where the blisters will start to break, and it's just oozing a liquid. At least at that point it's not contagious. However, you don't want to be getting that stuff spreading around or risk the effect of an infection happening. So you want to keep that area bandaged if it's got to that point. Now the symptoms can last up to 2 weeks to a month. Usually the itchiness will subside, but you'll still have that redness and blotchiness. Now I'd like to show you, I'm just going to move the camera here so you can see. I'm at about 3 days now, and you can see where I contracted it. It started on my foot, and then I touched my arm here, and that's where the symptoms are. So I'm at the oozing phase now, where you can just see the blisters have subsided, but it's just kind of wet looking. There's a few little dots just below the main patch where it had spread it a little bit. Now, during the day, I like to keep the bandages off and let it air out and dry. I actually use a baking soda and water mixture that I kind of make it into a paste and put it over it, and that helps to dry it out and calm the itch temporarily. You can use things like calamine lotion and whatnot, over-the-counter stuff, but when you're in the bush, generally you don't have anything like that. So it's best just to wrap it up, keep it covered, and don't itch it till you can get back into the city where you can get some treatment for it. Now, if you've come in contact with poison ivy and you're aware of it, it's probably your best scenario, because there are a few things you can do to help alleviate the symptoms of the poison ivy, or at least almost eliminate later onset. What I do, you're probably wondering why I've had this here, this video, is bring with me this little flask with some alcohol in it. Two reasons, either I can drink it by the fire, or when I do come in contact with poison ivy, I can pour it on the spot where I have come in contact with it. Now, because it's an oil-based pathogen, water will just spread it around, but the alcohol, it's not soluble, so it actually helps to remove it off your skin. Generally, they say to use rubbing alcohol, but any alcohol will work. You can use a can of beer if that's all you have. Dish soap works as well. Not as good as alcohol, but better than water at least. If water is your only option, remember, just using a bottle of water isn't going to cut it. That's just going to spread the oil around. You really want to find a lake or an actual water source to be able to thoroughly rinse off the spot. Same thing with the dog. Make sure you get the dog right in the lake and wipe it right down good. Now, if it's day 4 of your camping trip and you weren't aware that you came in contact with it, and you start noticing red bumps or a small red rash on your lower legs, or maybe it's come up on your arms, at that point, fortunately, being able to alleviate the symptoms is going to be a little bit more difficult. What you can do is use like a baking soda paste like I talked about earlier, place it over it, or you can use a cold compress over it. Also works to just help alleviate the itching. But unfortunately, it's going to have to run its course, which can be anywhere from 2 weeks to a month's time. Not too much you can do in these situations other than just help to stop the spread of it, and don't touch the areas and keep them clean, because you don't want to risk any further infection to the skin. Well, that pretty much wraps it up on the poison ivy issue. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. I'll get back to them as soon as I see them. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I hope to get a lot more of these videos out in the near future, as well as subscribe to my blog and website. But do about monthly updates on travel adventures from around the world. So thanks for watching, and don't forget, adventure's just on the other side of the door.